crown a champion, a champion. It's just me, I still on it, 'cause you all wanna be loved, yeah, you all wanna be loved.
Hey, happy hump day, happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have some really hot topics tonight. I really hope that we can get through all of them, but let's just see. So I definitely want to welcome everyone who's new here. Welcome to the Crimson Dynasty. We are the sister channel of the Bama Standard Network. And welcome back to those who have been here before. I know that we have some very loyal supporters, so we really appreciate you. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. We always have content dropping. We have some of our really good short clips that we post from some of our longer form videos, so you can always get a good laugh out of those. But like I mentioned, I'm your host. My name is C'Chi, and we have some great co-hosts tonight. But before I introduce them, I definitely want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Workspace Solutions. So if your business needs a digital presence or even a marketing team at an affordable price, be sure to visit them. We actually have their website listed below in the banner. So visit their website, see if there's anything that you may need, and also contact them and let them know that we sent you over. So this is the Crimson Dynasty. We always have, content dropping, particularly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So we definitely want to welcome you here. Now, I mentioned we have some hot co-hosts tonight. They're here every Wednesday. They're sure to get y'all fired up. I'm going to get started with who I see at the top, which is Dan. So I know that y'all are familiar with him. This is Dan James the fourth. It's not the third, not the fifth, but the fourth. And okay, exactly. He's our lead recruiting analyst for the Bama Standard. So a lot of you may recognize him from our Tuesday night show, at least one of them, The Final Whistle. So he's the go-to guy if you have any questions regarding any new recruits, any former recruits, any potential recruits. And we're going to talk about some of them tonight. But then we also have Hannah Stevens. She is our latest addition to the Bama Standard Network and to Crimson Dynasty. She's been on several college football shows. She knows her stuff, but not even just football. I mean, it's pretty much any sport that you can think about, pretty much anything Alabama. And she also played, I think you did rowing at Alabama, right, Hannah?
Yep, I was a rower.
Right. So that means you have like a lot of, upper body strength. Yeah. So welcome tonight. So like I said, we have some great content. Of course, the topic that's literally on everyone's minds, even people that aren't Alabama fans, is the Final Four. Like a lot of people thought that we weren't going to make it, right? I mean, we get close sometimes, but then it just doesn't kind of fare well. But we're in the Final Four. And I think even as we've kind of crept up, we played North Carolina, we played Clemson. And, I think honestly, each time we've been the underdog, and that's okay, because I think when Alabama's underdog, we come out swinging. So I want to get y'all's takes on this, because when we really talk about, Coach DeBoer and then Coach Nate Oats, from a football and a basketball perspective, the question is, who are we going to see actually win a national championship first? Is it going to be Coach Nate Oats with, the NCAA, or is it going to be, Coach DeBoer with football? So I'm going to start with you, Hannah. What are your thoughts there? Who do you think it's going to be, or do you think that it's even going to matter?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that statistically, when you look at how Alabama basketball is doing right now, I think they're hot. And I think that what we saw was Auburn peaked at the wrong time and they lost to Yale, and Alabama's peaking at the right time, right? That's kind of how it goes, because you look at the last part of our regular season and you're like, man, is this team even going to be playing winning the first game in the NCAA tournament, right? You were kind of worried, especially how they played against, a team like Florida, right? So for me, I was nervous, but looking at how they're playing now, I'm like, they're unstoppable. And I'll say this, I know we're going to get into this later, I think, breaking down the game, obviously. But I mean, I think it's a good question to ask. And I think that honestly, there's two things that matter. Nate Oats has the team to do it, and Kalen DeBoer has the pressure to do it, right? So you look at, sorry, I'm using my phone, by the way, so I don't know if you can hear.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
I'm having technological problem. My MacBook that I used all day is now dead and apparently went to heaven. So anyway, all of that to say, I think that Kalen DeBoer has the pressure to do it, but Nate Oats has the team to do it, if that makes sense. So when you look at it on paper, I think Nate Oats, this is his year. I think this is his year. He has the right guys. He has the peak at the right time, and I think has the schedule to do it. And I know we'll talk about that later, but Kalen DeBoer, I mean, you got to give the man some grace. Nick Saban took 2007, 2008, and then his third season, 2009, finally won a national championship at Alabama. But Nick Saban has won so many since then that Kalen DeBoer has that pressure to get it done his first season. So
Very, very nice. I'm going to add to that after we hear from Dan. I do see a comment. Hannah's MacBook is dead like Auburn in the postseason.
Yep.
Look, we were asking, like, do they have like a kind of like an A-day, like scrimmage game? We know they probably don't have a pro day. They don't really have a reason to. So.
No, they have an A-day for equestrian.
Not for equestrian.
Yeah, you
now,
know they got the horses.
Right. No, I love horses.
That's one thing they can beat is that.
Yeah, you're right. Now, Dan, I'm going to ask you the same question. So who do you think is going to get the Natty first, Coach DeBoer or Coach Oats?
That's an easy answer to that. It's an easy answer to that because we got a coach that's really hot right now. He has a team, overachieving team in the Final Four. So, the correct answer and the only answer should be Nate Oats at the moment. Maybe even the case Coach Kalen DeBoer on his first opportunity, because I don't think in the history of college football, no coach has walked into a better situation than Kalen DeBoer has. A winning coach with a stacked roster. He was set up. So he doesn't have to take as long as Nick Saban did. Nick Saban inherited a program that was on probation a few years. It was a dumpster fire. But Coach DeBoer he's walking into the best situation of his coaching career, where any coach would be. And so, but the correct answer, to keep it short, is Nate Oats, and we're gonna shock the world.
Can I call out Chris Williams already? Because I'm
Go
already
ahead.
already here.
Because Chris, shut your mouth. Okay, Hugh Freeze sounds like a really bad meteorologist, okay? So you know what? You can just shut your mouth. Don't play with us tonight, because I tell you right now, this woman is mad because of Apple and not having a good MacBook. So if you really want to talk some smack, I'm just saying, tonight's not the night.
Yeah, we with it tonight.
Hannah's fired up.
No, look, hopefully you still have a warranty, though. You need to call Apple, because that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Know why? No, I'm gonna tell you why. You know what I'm saying? The founder of Apple was a Barner, so
yeah, I know.
Right. Really quickly, shout out to Linda P in the building. Roll dang tie,
What's
roll
up,
everybody.
Linda?
Yeah, good to have you. No, I definitely want to echo what y'all were saying too. And I think Coach Oats, I think that honestly, we have everything that it takes, and I think with the season that we had this year and how hungry the guys are, being the underdog each and every week. I mean, for the most part, I just think that it's going to really be a toss up to where it won't even matter, because both of them have everything that they need. I think the pressure is there for both of them. But Coach Oats said during an interview this week, he said, we're the fourth largest point spread in the Final Four history. We're the underdog, and they expect us, I think, to lose to UConn by like double digits, whatever. But what Coach Oats said is that we're kind of playing with house money a little bit. And so I think I don't know. I think that coming off of a win like we did against, like, look at, Nelson, for example. I mean, the way that he showed out against North Carolina, look at Clemson. I think we get Latrell back this weekend, fingers crossed. So I feel like we have everything that we need. It's just going to be a matter of, I feel like it's going to be a matter of consistency. But to answer that question, I really believe that it could be Coach Oats. But I think this is going to be like a double hitter type of year where it's like basketball and, football. I definitely see that happening. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm being a little bit too biased, but I feel like we definitely can do it. So now, speaking of which, because I definitely wanted to kind of tap a little bit into how does Alabama actually beat UConn. Now, UConn, I had a friend that played ball at UConn a few years ago, and UConn is one of those teams that kind of remind me of like Pitt back in the day, or like, certain teams where they're typically, you go up north and you start to see them do a little bit better in basketball and then in the South football. But I feel like UConn is one of those teams, even the women's, when they had like Maya Moore, they're just one of those teams. But but that doesn't stop us. Now, one thing that stood out to me, we look at Alabama, for example, and we do really well with the 3-pointers. We do well with the free throws. I think the biggest thing is going to be consistency. And then, the rebounds, right? We need to capitalize on both sides, offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. Now, I'm going to name a few guys, and then I'm going to point something out about pretty much all of them. I want to get y'all's takes on them. Now, all 5 of them are seniors, right? Across different positions, guards, forwards. And so you have Mark Sears. This guy, this is his 2nd season at Alabama. He transferred in from Ohio, not even Ohio State, but I think University of Ohio. So this is his 2nd season at Alabama. Estrada, this is his 1st season at Alabama, transferred in from Hofstra. Latrell, this is his 1st season at Alabama, transferred in from Cal State. Grant Nelson, 1st season at Alabama, transferred from North Dakota State. And then Nick Pringle, 2nd season at Alabama, transferred from Wofford, and all of them are seniors. So the first thing that I wanted to ask both of you is, Coach Oats and whoever is recruiting and pulling these guys out of the transfer portal, we literally hit the jackpot. When you think about and you just look at all of our statistics and you see the guys who are putting all these numbers across the board, every one of them, they transferred to Alabama. So that goes to show, like how both of you were saying over the years, how it took Coach Saban a couple years, and then we had the championship team. When you think about it, these guys, they just got there about a year or 2 ago, and we've really just been building the team until the point where they've made such a huge impact. And they didn't come from some of the biggest schools. Some of them we may not have even heard of, but I want to understand from your perspective. We talk about how the transfer portal has an impact in college football. Let's look at it from a basketball perspective, being that they're all seniors, but then they just got here like a year or 2 ago. So I'm going to start with you, Dan. What role do you feel like the transfer portal has played? And do you feel, would you give Coach Oats an A+ on what we've seen so far with these guys? I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Definitely the transfer portal is huge, especially in the age of one and done of college basketball. So the transfer portal, it helps offset that, because you have the one and done, you have the G League, so a lot of guys leave early. So the transfer portal has been it's actually saved the game of college basketball. It's huge. You go in, you get a guy that's already established. You don't have to, have guys that, you get a one and done player out the transfer portal, So it's been huge. You get guys, mostly any transfer portal, is very beneficial if you can get the seniors. That's what you tend to look for out of the transfer portal. Guy from mid-major that's trying to play on a bigger stage. So that's how you have to approach it. If you want to go and get you a veteran guard, a veteran big man, the transfer portal is the answer.
Awesome. I agree. And really quickly, I want to give a shout out to Ephraim Davis for the super chat. Thank you so much. C'Chi, Hannah, Dan, Roll Tide, Roll. Thank you so much. Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, I like what you said about that, about the transfer portal, Dan. Now, Hannah, I want to get your perspective on this. How do you feel like it's played an impact in where we are now?
I think one of the biggest things it did was it allowed Alabama to get on the map for young recruits, right? I think it kind of helped Alabama elevate itself on a big stage. You look at how Nate Oats has done a great job bringing in the players in the transfer portal to get them to the NCAA tournament, to get them in front of the eyes of big players, right? So now when you look at what's happened the last couple of years, our recruiting classes have got better because they're like, wow, Alabama made it to the Sweet 16. Wow, Alabama made it to the NCAA tournament. They're not in the NIT anymore. And so that is what I think was very strategic on Nate Oats' part, because he brought these guys in to give them a chance to A, go to the NBA, right? But B, to put Alabama on a map that maybe they want to choose Alabama over Kentucky, or an Alabama over an Auburn, or maybe an Alabama over, a Big Ten program that otherwise they would have been like, oh, well, Alabama's just a football school. So I think on one end, it helped put us on the map for some of these young recruits. But two, you have guys that play their heart out knowing this is their last season to put it all on the court to see themselves have potential to go to the next level. And I think for Alabama, it's kind of a win-win, right? For these players, it's a win-win. And so I think when you look at all the sports and the transfer portal, I think basketball is hands down the biggest blessing for Alabama in the transfer portal. I think of all the other programs, it's the most beneficial. You look at a player like football. Yeah, I mean, most people that come to Alabama to play football knew they were going to go there from the day they were born, right? They knew they were going to go there when they were a senior in high school. But for basketball, it's a way for guys, because let's be honest, by the time you are a junior or senior in college, if you're that good, you're going to the NFL anyway.
Right.
You're already going to enter the draft. It's very rare that you have a player who's a senior transfer get one really good year. I mean, it doesn't not happen, but it's just not really that common. But in basketball, it is. So I think what Dan said is true. And I think for one, like I said, I think recruiting and being able to become the new Kentucky of the SEC is kind of Nate Oats' thought is, hey, forget the transfer portal in a couple of years. We'll be having kids knock on our doors, juniors, seniors in high school. So, we'll see what happens. But I think that's one reason why they've done such a good job and why they've done it the way they have.
I like that. I like what both of you said. And then shout out to VP. Oats will win a Natty Monday and DeBoer will win in January 2025. Yes, we will. I mean, it's just right. Then we have Chris again. So I'm not going to even say those first two words like that. For one, that doesn't even go
tweeting from the Lee County jail. Be quiet, Chris. Get out of here.
Right.
He's using his 1 hour of jail social media time.
He's using his Wi-Fi prepaid card, if they even get one. Now, as we're talking about the transfer portal, I think it's worth mentioning now. I don't know how our viewers feel about this, but LeBron James' son, Bronny James, he announced that he's entering the transfer portal from USC. And I think that's huge because we talk about, just these 5 names that are currently on our team, and all of them are seniors, that there's a good chance that some of them are going to the draft. And so it's going to open up space, of course, for the guys who are currently there. But then to me, someone like Bronny, who I'm sure wants to get out there, he wants to play, he wants to be at a school that's, getting a lot of attention, have a lot of, maybe NIL opportunities, whatever. I think that, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we could. I just think that I think the timing of him entering the portal, and then with everything that's going on with Alabama being in the Final Four, it's just a lot of talk. So I don't know. I feel like LeBron James, he's a winner. I think his son, he's a winner. So you do what winners do, right? They go to the winning school. So fingers crossed. I mean, I wouldn't be against him coming to Alabama. Now, I did want to kind of hit on though the UConn players. They have, of course, some really good players. I mean, we can't. I like to give these teams kudos, and certain ones that are super good. They've only lost 3 games this season, but it's a few in particular where I'm just like, okay, we can't afford. When you look at when we played Clemson, for example, even North Carolina, we had a kind of a rocky start, right? We kept turning over the ball, and it was just it looked like we were kind of nervous. But I feel like UConn is one of those teams where we cannot afford to get out there and play patty cake with the ball. Like, we got to get out there and we have to be fast. So some of their guys, they have a few guards that I feel like, it's all or nothing. Like, this is the game where you lay everything on the line or you just take your behind back home. So you have like Cam Spencer, for example. This guy, this is his first year at UConn. So he transferred in from Rutgers, 14 points per game. Tristan Newton, it's a lot of them. Alex Donovan. So I feel like I do think that it's a good matchup because honestly, when you look at Cam Spencer for UConn, this guy averaging about 14 points per game. Mark Sears is easily hitting about 21 points per game in the regular season. So I think it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison, but when you look at the guys across the board, I feel like, I feel like we really can match up well with them. It's just going to be a matter of how bad do we want it? How consistent can we be? And can we get out there and actually start fast and end well, And so I'll ask you first, Hannah, just looking at UConn, we know their history when it comes to basketball, right? I mean, they won the national championship last year as far as NCAA. So they're trying to repeat, and we're just like, no, we can't have that. So I want to get your perspective on this.
Sure.
Are there any players at UConn that you feel like we need to maybe watch out for? Are there any trip ups that you see potentially?
I think honestly they need to look out for Alabama. I'm going to be honest. I think that the way we played against North Carolina, this team to me can win it all. I actually think they will. I think that you look at how Pringle showed up last game. I think you look at how he, because I think every game a player's really stepped up. I think you look at how Grant Nelson's played in the NCAA tournament. You look how Pringle stepped up. You look how Mark Sears has. And I think this is the most cohesive unit we've seen. Yeah. And I'll be honest, GCU having to play Grand Canyon University was probably the biggest blessing for Alabama because it was a game where we had to play defense and it was scrappy. And that was like the turning point in a good way for our team. So I'll be honest, I expect Alabama to win. Now, do I think it's going to be a big game? Yes. Do I think we're going to have to defensively get big rebounds? Yes. Have we been doing that? Yeah. But we also need to get offensive rebounds. I think last game we got a little sloppy and lazy with that. We just, especially when we threw up some threes, we didn't chase the balls. Grant Nelson's been doing a good job of that, but it wasn't as much. So I think if you're looking at how does Alabama beat UConn, I think it's simple. Rebounding, being smart with the ball, and being patient with the ball, because I think we need clock management on our side. If we can try to slow down a little bit, and I'm not saying don't shoot the three if it's open, but don't let that be the first shot necessarily, because if we can use Grant and Pringle and exhaust UConn's defense, we are faster statistically up and down the court than they are. So if we can control the momentum, control the timing of the game, I don't see why Alabama can't win this game. Do I see some guys on the UConn? Like, yeah, if when you look at this game on a piece of paper, it's kind of like seeing Oregon State playing Alabama in football, right? Like, it's not that it's impossible, but it's very rare. So this is a rare matchup because we've never been this good. But there's a reason we're this good. So I think we can beat them, but it's gonna be nailing down fundamentals, being smart, being patient, and rebounding. The shots have been there, but it's the rebounding that hasn't been. So if we can do that, I think we'll win the game.
Agreed. What about you, Dan? How do you feel? Is there anything in particular that we need to watch out for in terms of UConn?
Yes, and the main thing is the big guy in the middle, Donovan Clingan. So we can't let him have his way. We got to run him. You know what I'm saying? We got to take the ball out the net. We got to go. You know what I'm saying? We got to play Alabama. It's gonna take us putting up a lot of shots. We got to run them. We got to keep Grant Nelson clean, keep him out of foul trouble early, especially early. We definitely have to keep him out of foul trouble. So what we got to do, we got to find a way to bring Clingan out the paint. Put Grant Nelson on the ball, let Mark Sears play off the ball. We did down the stretch against UNC. That might be beneficial to us. But definitely we got to stay out of foul trouble. And yes, we have to rebound. It's on the defensive end, especially. We can't let Clingan give them second chances. We can't let them crash the boards and at will.
And
generally we've been doing a pretty good job of that. We out rebounded North Carolina, which was a bigger team. So I think we can get it done, but yeah, we're definitely gonna have to be hot from the outside. It's gonna take some hot shooting because mid range is not part of our game. That just hasn't been in Nate Oats style, but that's the way you want to attack a big man, but that's not our style. So what we're gonna just gonna have to beat them up and down the court. We've done a great job of shooting free throws, making our free throws. So, we found a way to get to the foul line, get Clingan maybe in foul trouble, which they don't call fouls on him. They let him and Zach Edey do whatever they want to do. But the next option is to run them. So I hope we can get out there and get hot. We get hopefully right side will be good to go. Because we're gonna need all the offensive firepower. To win the game. But we've been here before. Hey, we were the number one overall seed just a year ago. We played UConn. It's not, something new. And the team last year was a much better team. But this is our remit. We should come in with a chip on our shoulder. Let them know, hey, we're still Bama.
Look what happened.
We're not afraid of you. We're still Bama. UConn. Y'all think basketball, but we're still Bama. We're a championship program.
Yeah. Look how Iowa and LSU. Look how Caitlin Clark.
That's right.
Their rematch. Their revenge game. They showed up.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, but being a double-digit underdog, I don't like that. I feel like that. I mean, it just adds fuel to the fire. We should go in. Just look. We ain't playing no games. Like we just here to win. Whatever that meaning is that we're putting behind what this win means. I mean, like I said, all these guys who the names that we keep calling, they're all seniors. Like let's let them leave on a high note, whatever that looks like for them, the ones who are going to the next level. Now, I did want to quickly say, we talk about our title towel. We talk about A-Day coming up. I really wanted to quickly say to our viewers, and like I said, I hope y'all are lighting up that chat because we like to see your comments. Some of the haters, y'all can go ahead and leave your comments too. We may address y'all tonight. We got time today. So, but your game day is not the same without a title towel. So be sure to visit whitwellsports.com to order yours today and use the promo code standard for an exclusive discount. Now, while we're talking about that, like I said, we have A-Day coming up in like a week and a half. have on the 13th of April. So it's going to be in Tuscaloosa. It's going to air on ESPN. It's going to be awesome. I think that the way we're going to pack out that stadium, it's going to be lit. Like that whole city is going to be lit. And so we're excited about this. But speaking of which, I kind of want to pivot a little bit. I know we spent a lot of time talking about basketball, and rightfully so, but I want to kind of get into some football. So let's look at the latest in recruiting. Now, speaking of our football team, we know that Jalen Hale unfortunately was injured last week, and it was an apparent knee injury. And I definitely want to shout out to Ephraim Davis again for another $50 super chat. I believe you should too. Look, I mean, we appreciate the support and the love from everyone. Those who do a super chat, those who are in the live chat, we definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, I wanted to kind of get into our team, our football team, where we're at right now. What is it looking like with the scrimmages and, injuries? So we know that Jalen Hill, unfortunately, was injured last week. It was a knee injury, and he is expected to, essentially miss the rest of spring. And we're not quite sure what it's going to look like as far as like fall camp. Of course, that's still months away. But one thing that, Coach DeBoer said, he said that essentially we're going to have to evaluate the timeline for the rest of the year. Now, I do like the fact that Jalen Hill, I remember his performance in our A-Day game last year and the way that he stood out. And I remember saying to my mom and my brother, I said, y'all know what? This guy's going to be elite. He's going to be elite whenever his number is called. And he did some good things last year, but, we could have seen him a little more. Now, Jalen did post on Twitter that, he's in good spirits, but I definitely think that we need to continue to pray for him and, pray for a speedy recovery for him, and just pray that all of our guys remain, protected and healed and, not overdo it. I understand that they, it's a lot of competition right now, but still, keep the main thing. So, of course, our next scrimmage is A-Day, and I know that's going to be huge for all of us. But one thing that I wanted to mention is that, Coach DeBoer, he was saying in an interview after our most recent scrimmage that basically we're going to have to continue to maximize, more opportunities and communicate better. So it's some things that he's seeing. And when we talk about communicating, we know that they're wearing those helmets now, the quarterbacks, and kind of, getting used to that. He didn't specify if that was a part of it, but I would imagine, if they're working out the kinks with that and, just making sure that cohesion is there with the coaches, then that's something that's going to be worth, mentioning. But he did mention that he likes the diversity in the backfield, like Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, Daniel Hill, Richard Young. And so I thought that was interesting. But I want to get y'all's opinions. Have you heard anything in particular that stood out to you regarding our latest scrimmage? And then is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to see in the 8A game? Dan, I'll start with you on that one.
Yes. One thing is 0 turnovers from the quarterbacks. That was huge. They said Ty Simpson really had a big one, pretty good scrimmage, effective. But all 4 quarterbacks basically look exceptional. The running backs, man, they are ahead of schedule. There was an article on 3 Bama Online that Charlie Potter, he sat down with Coach DeBoer, and he was talking about some positions that he had concerns about, coming into it, that may have changed his opinion. And 2 spots he named was the running back position, because we lost so many guys. We lost Jalen and Roydell, to the transfer portal. He said, but the young guys, they really stepped up. They're very versatile and very effective. He's expecting a big season out of the running backs. And the other one was wide receiver, because, once again, we lost some guys. But but he said, we have the talent, we have the numbers. He's expecting a big season out of the wide receivers. So, I really expect us to surprise some people this year. But the scrimmage A-Day is going to be much different. It's an open practice, so it's going to be a little more. But it gives you a chance to see, what we have, though. Get a good visual. So A-Day games generally don't mean anything. We get excited about a lot of guys that don't play the rest of the year, So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be it's a kickoff of a different era, So it's going to be huge as far as that aspect of it.
Do you, really quickly, because I'm going to toss it over to Hannah, but while you were talking, it made me think of another question. Essentially, do you feel like the focus during A-Day is going to also, do you think it's going to be more on the players, or it's going to be more so on Coach DeBoer and the new coaching staff and how they're, I guess, like kind of blending and meshing with the players?
That's what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
You know, we know what we have at the University of Alabama. We're trying to see what Coach DeBoer can get out of what we have.
Yeah.
You know, we might be wanting to see what we can get out of Jeremy Bernard, you know, get a transfer, but you know, generally we know what we have. We're excited. You know, it's a new opportunity for a lot of guys that weren't able to get as much playing time last year. But it's the sign off of a new era. You know, so that's what I'm definitely going to be watching. Is how the guys interact and react to Coach DeBoer's system.
Agreed. I see a comment from Ty Alexander. I'm so glad James Brockmeyer won the center position.
For now.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they're still competing. I mean, I saw that Coach DeBoer also said that the edge rushers were able to get to the quarterback, but he wasn't saying that in regards to the O-line. So it could be that the edge rushers are just really good, or that the O-line still, you know, has some kinks to work out. Another comment, Run the Table Sports TV. One name to be on the lookout for: true freshman Red Morgan. He's been consistently taking reps with the one up for first team daily. He may be a fall starter. He may be. I mean, it's up for anyone, right? Coach DeBoer made it clear that, you know, it's going to be a competition across the board, and that's what I like. Now, Hannah, I'm going to toss the same questions to you. So, and just to reiterate it, so basically, with A-Day coming up, is there anything in particular with our most recent scrimmage and then A-Day that you're more so looking forward to? And then, do you think the attention is going to be more so on the players for A-Day or more so on the new coaching staff?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Dan took one of my three I was taking, but besides quarterback, I think for me, offensive line, how are we going to be more consistent, and how are we going to not have so many dadgum penalties? That was what shot us in the foot so many times. I feel like in the Rose Bowl, we would take 10 steps forward and get a flag penalty and then be 10 steps back. And it just, it sucked the life out of us. So for me, it's like, you know, how are we going to execute on not only the quarterback position, but protecting our quarterback? Because, you know, I think Jalen Milroe would have been able to play his heart out in the Rose Bowl if he would have been getting sacked every 2.3 seconds, right? So how are we going to protect him? And then for me, I want to take this back a couple of years, because, you know, when we had Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, that was who we were. We were an awesome wide receiver university, right? And when you look at the transition between Tua and even Mac Jones, right? You know, those years, I think for me, one of the things that stood out was our running game. How we were able to, even with Mac Jones, I mean, you look at who he had as wide receivers, you also have to forget who he had at, you can't forget who he had at running back, right? And how we were able to balance that. And I want to see that again. I want to see us being a team that can throw deep, but also run the ball down their throat. And I think that's kind of what we lacked this past season. And that's one of the reasons we didn't do as well as we could have. So for me, not only do I want to see a good offensive line, that was my first thing. I'll forget about the quarterback. Second thing is going to be running back. But also, I miss having a defensive line that was fast off the line and destroyed quarterbacks, right? I miss the Deron Payne type movement where he was like a dadgum tiger or a lion catching his prey. And we were fast. Teams couldn't run the ball, and they were scared to throw the ball. And we were a defensive type team. And so if we can get back to that, I don't see us any problem. Those are what I'm looking for, the old school, because Kalen DeBoer is kind of hinted at it, right? Like the process and, you know, going back to the basics. Well, the basics in football are protecting your quarterback, running the ball, and being consistent and accurate. And so for me, I'm here for it. But if we can defensively become the team we used to be, and that kind of goes to your next question, I think it's both, right? There are definitely some players. I think the biggest question is going to be the quarterback. People want to know, is Jalen Milroe still our guy? That's going to be the player everyone's looking at, right? But I think for sure you're going to look at Kalen DeBoer. You're going to look at your offensive, defensive coordinator, see how they're relating with the players. But if we're being honest, the two guys everyone's looking at is Jalen Milroe and Kalen DeBoer. And so, I mean, I think there's other guys you want to look at, but people really want to know who's going to be the number one quarterback, who's going to be the QB for team one. And the second thing is, you know, how does Kalen DeBoer react to those players? And from what I've heard, he may not be a suit man. So we may not see an Easter looking suit on the field come A-Day. We shall see.
He should be decked out in like a crimson suit. Just be decked out. Might as well. Let's see. Is there another troll?
Houndstooth hat.
Oh, there's another troll. I turned my camera off. There's another troll. Who is?
Yeah. I've learned to like be less reactive, so I'm gonna
What's another word for a mule? Do we know? Because I'm pretty sure
three-letter word. It's a three-letter word, yeah.
Yeah. A crooked letter, right? I mean,
in all caps. In all caps.
And look at the picture. I mean, literally, he's a dumb nut. He's not even worth our attention. Keep moving, Justin. I mean,
yeah, he's an idiot. I mean, you're here watching us tonight, so just remember that. And then I see another comment. They're saying Jeremy Bernard or Jalen Mbakwe have been doing punt and kick returns. Look, I mean, really, it's up for anybody. And I love how we're getting the transfers and the freshmen, worked into the scheme. Now, of course, the Kobe Prentice, the Kendrick, all the guys who were there before. Of course, we definitely and we know that they're good. So I know that they're going to be a part of whatever we see on the field. But I do like that they're trying the guys out at different positions. Now, I like what both of you said. And I think as we talk about, A-Day, of course, some of the recruits are most likely going to be there. But one in particular that I wanted to mention, and we keep talking about him, but he's a 5-star quarterback out of Carrollton, Georgia, Juju Lewis. Now, this guy, he had originally, I think last year around the fall or something, he had committed to USC. But of course, just kind of seeing how USC turned out to be, Damani Jackson transferring into Alabama from USC. And then I believe Juju, he's at the same school that Caleb Odom is coming in from out of Carrollton, right? So they already have like that, relationship. Caleb Odom, who's our new receiver, tight end to receiver. So I just heard that Juju was actually back in Tuscaloosa last week. They said that that's about like his 10th visit or something to Tuscaloosa. Like he just keeps going. And I'm just like
Ryan Williams.
Right. And my thing is like Tuscaloosa, I mean, to be honest, it's not the biggest town. We don't have a whole lot of stuff there, but that right there speaks volumes because it lets you know how just that family atmosphere is, right? How the players are taking these guys in. They're not looking at these guys as a potential threat, like, oh, you may take my position. It's like, no, like we want to win the national championship, so we need all the firepower we can get. So shout out to Juju, but I definitely wanted to mention a few more guys who either were recently in Tuscaloosa or ones that we need to watch out for. So there are a few guys in particular, both from the 2025 and 2026 class who were recently in Tuscaloosa. Now, it's been a lot of them, but it was a few that I wanted to kind of call out. Of course, the one from Phoenix City, Alabama, Dalen Upshaw. Now, I don't know if he's related to Courtney Upshaw, but this guy, he's a wide receiver. I think that, I've heard good things about him, and I think that he still has Alabama on his radar. There's a offensive lineman out of IMG Academy, Caden Strayhorn. Now, I don't know. I feel like with his size, he's an interior offensive lineman. I feel like that's somebody that we could look at. There's a guy, Derek Smith. Now, he's out of Selma. Mm-hmm. And I believe he had already committed to Alabama, but this is a guy that we want to make sure that we keep locked in. I want to make sure that, and we always talk about that, right? Like the importance of recruiting in state and recruiting in the South, and not just getting them to verbally commit, but getting them to actually sign. So we need to make sure that pressure that we were putting on these guys, we keep the pressure there. Another guy out of IMG, Zach Fort, so it's certain names that I think that we need to pay attention to. But I do know that there are some guys recently from the 2025 class who have named Alabama in their final, list of schools. Now, people can take that to mean whatever they wanted to, but I thought it was interesting that half of those names are on the defense. They're defensive backs, and they're all pretty much cornerbacks. So you have Tristan Haynes, Alex Graham, Shamari Earls, and these guys are from, states where they could really make an impact at, their home schools. So Michigan, Virginia, Oklahoma. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We could literally sit here all day and name people, but I want to know from both of you, and Hannah, I'll start with you. Week after week, we talk about different guys who are either visiting Tuscaloosa or maybe they recently, announced they're entering the portal from their school. I want to know, is there anyone else that we should be, I guess, looking out for, or is it more so Juju Lewis? And if it's Juju Lewis, what impact do you think that could play, considering that we now have Austin Mack, we have Dylan Lonergan, Ty Simpson, Jalen, so it just makes you wonder, do you think that could maybe deter him a little bit?
No, I don't. And I think this is why Julian Sayin left. I think when you look at him leaving, I think it kind of opened up the door for a legacy quarterback, right? Like a guy who's going to be the A1, D1. And I think, and let's just talk about Austin Mack for a second, right? I think you have to understand a couple of things. Kalen DeBoer, whenever you're a coach and you transfer, whether it was Deion Sanders, whatever coach leaves, they want to bring a couple of kids at least to kind of give him an opportunity to mess with the players, but also have a backup plan, have a contingency plan in case A, B, and C go wrong. You want to have a D backup, right? And I'm not saying that's what Austin Mack is, but I think he's able to be an example to the current players of this is how Kalen DeBoer runs things, but B, is a guy that Kalen DeBoer can look up to, I should say look up to, but rely on if something for whatever reason Jalen Milroe can adapt. Now, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, Jalen Milroe is great at adapting. But I think when you look at a guy like Juju Lewis, I think you see a guy who can kind of put that attention back. Because when you bring in a 5-star player, regardless if it's wide receiver or quarterback, they're going to bring people with them, right?
Yeah.
And when you see a guy like Juju Lewis, you're going to get a bunch of other guys come with him. And Ryan Williams is an example of that, right? They all have these group of guys that they're locked in with. They're like, you go, I go. And so I think when you can get a guy like Juju who verbally has, communicated that he has a group of guys, then you're bringing in other legacy players. And so I think for me, that's the biggest get. And I'll say this. I think it would be a perfect fit for him, not only for his type of play, but also because he is a guy who can be a true freshman and start and be there from day one. And we're being honest, Alabama needs more of those guys. Alabama needs more of having 2 or 3 seasons, because it used to be Alabama, you play 1 or 2 seasons, move on, 1 or 2 seasons, move on. And now we're getting, if you're good enough, you're going to play from day one. So for me, that's who I'm looking at, and I circle that as the biggest get, and it's probably going to be the biggest get since Ryan Williams.
And thank you for saying that, because it made me think about another guy. So as our lead recruiting analyst, Dan, I have a question for you. Now, it's pretty much the same question, but I want to kind of pivot this a little bit. So you have Juju Lewis, right? Same school as Caleb Odom, wide receiver, quarterback. Now, what about the fact that we got Ryan Williams coming in from Maryland, but then the quarterback that he played with, KJ Lacey, who had committed to Texas? Now, I still have been hearing that it's a potential, it's a possibility. I mean, they have that connection. I don't think he visited Tuscaloosa recently, but I just still think about him because I'm like, okay, well, you play with Ryan Williams. That to me, that would be a good package. But it's like, okay, well, do you want Juju Lewis and Caleb Odom, or do you want Ryan Williams and KJ Lacey? So what are your thoughts there? And do you know much about KJ?
Yes, there's no package deal. Now, one thing I'm gonna tell you, I'm not concerned about the quarterback position. Let me tell you why. Because there's not a lot of offers going out. We just had the number 3 overall quarterback visit, and he left without an offer. So that tells me Bama is sitting pretty good with one of the quarterbacks they have on their board. Yeah. KJ Lacey, he hasn't been offered an in-state layup. He hasn't been offered. Yeah. So that tells me we like where we sit with a couple of quarterbacks. We have, quarterbacks high on the board. One is Juju Lewis, who's just coming off of multi-day visit at USC. So he's back at USC. So that's another a little mild concern. But another one is Deuce Knight. Who hasn't expressed any interest or any intent to return to campus anytime soon. Yeah. So that leaves us with Juju. You know what I'm saying? So I think I like where we sit with Juju. But we definitely have a contingency plan when it comes to the quarterback position. So I'm not concerned about the quarterback position.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Fingers crossed. I mean, I'd love to get Juju. I think he's one of those guys where even if he had to sit out a year, I think with the offensive scheme that we're going to have and the offensive minds that we have in terms of coaching, they're going to work it out to where it's a good chance that he could even still see the field. I mean, I just don't see why you don't bring in a guy like Juju Lewis, even if it was still Julian Sand. You don't bring in those types of guys, that level of talent, and they don't touch the field at all. Now, of course, that transition from high school to college, that could play a role in that, but let's just see what happens. I mean, I have a feeling that Juju, some of the other guys, they're going to be there for A-Day, and I think they're going to just love that environment, the atmosphere, the lights going on. So let's see what happens there. But I know that we're coming up on time. I definitely wanted to mention some of our other sports, right? So we have a lot to talk about basketball. Of course, Final Fours this weekend. We play UConn Saturday night. I do see a comment from Ty Alexander. Question for the panel: if Bama wins it all next season with DeBoer, get a lot of credit, or will they say that he won with saving players like he did? I mean, to be honest,
We don't care. We don't care.
Oh, look, as long as we win. But I will say, though, when you look at how we've been recruiting since Caleb, I mean, we talked about last week. Right now, we have, like 8 commits for the 2025 class. They're all verbal, but 6 of the 8, they came after Coach DeBoer got to campus, you know? So I just think that it speaks volumes to how he's been out there on the recruiting trail. And even because the guys who are currently there, they could have left too. They could have transferred. So the fact that he was able to essentially re-recruit the locker room, to me, that speaks more about Kalen DeBoer. You know, so I don't know, Ty. I think that it's kind of a toss-up there, but I feel like with what Coach DeBoer has been doing so far in terms of recruiting, I would very well give him a lot of credit and re-recruiting the locker room. So, but that was a really good question. Now, really quickly, I definitely wanted to give a shout out to some of our other teams. I think it's awesome how well, I know Chris in the chat, you know, the little Auburn fan, this is so foreign to him. All Auburn does, they just take L's left. I mean, they got more L's than Lululemon, right? Like I mean, that's all they know. But since you're watching us tonight and all the other haters, I definitely wanted to mention our other sports, right? So our women's gymnastics team, they're going to be competing tomorrow in the 2024 NCAA Women's Gymnastics Regionals in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So we're actually the number 2 seed. And I think that's awesome because they actually said that we've advanced to NCAA Regionals every year since 1982. The only exception, right, the only exception was in 2020 because it was canceled due to COVID. So I think that that's awesome that we've advanced to that level. And then we also won the NCAA record for the 32 regional team title. So I think that, you know, it's awesome to see our girls there, right? Softball will be playing Ole Miss this Friday at home. And then men and women's tennis, we're going to be playing Auburn at Auburn this Friday. So Chris, since you're, you know, it seems to me like you're a split fan between Alabama and Auburn, you should check that out. We're going to be playing y'all in Auburn. So you could beat Alabama on a Lunchable. Child. Like, that's why I asked y'all a couple weeks ago, like, do y'all think that this is a child, like a kid? You think? I mean,
you could if he mentioned Lunchable.
Well, I know. That's why I'm like, I need to be careful with what I say to him. I can't really go off because I almost feel like it's somebody that's kind of either slow or they're, you know, I don't know. All right. Well, let's move on. So I want to ask y'all anything in particular that you're looking forward to. Moon Rocka, I used to hate Chris Williams. Now I understand that Chris Williams is something like an alternate facts comedic genius. I think so too. I just think you have to learn. Right. That's all it is. I mean, he literally tunes in on time every Wednesday night. You gotta love it. I mean, at the end of the day, I appreciate it, Chris. I mean, I understand that, you know, you want to kind of, you know, give our viewers a run for the money, but y'all ain't got no money to cash out. Y'all paid that to Cam Newton over 10 years ago. So whatever, you know, I mean, y'all already did that. But look, don't come at Linda, because I saw you coming at Linda in the chat. And
no, they paid it in buyouts for coaches.
Right. Exactly. So anything that y'all are looking forward to this weekend in terms of our other sports, whether that's basketball, of course, Final Four, but any of the others, are y'all going to check them out in person or watch them on TV? And I'll start with you, Dan.
Oh, definitely. I'm just concerned with the Final Four right now. All my energy is going into this Final Four. I'm man. I'm gonna be tied in. I'm gonna be locked in. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we might have a watch party. I might show up at Coleman.
Look, you should. Yeah. I know that they're having one. What about you, Hannah? Is it just the Final Four or any other sports that you look forward to?
Yes, and then can I wrap it back around to Ty's comment earlier, his question?
Yeah.
Okay, couple of things before we even talk about basketball. Softball, I'm a little bummed because I feel like they're slow on the bats again, and that's been the killer for us. We can't hit, and I hate it. And I love Murphy. I love Caleb Bro, but we're gonna have to get a hitting coach. That's just enough said. Baseball, very proud of them. I mean, I feel like they've kind of been getting in a rhythm, and you know, and I'll say this: I made a post the other day, and I think that I want to say it on here that Nick Saban has changed the game at Alabama on all sports, on all levels. Because I mean, people were like, "Well, you shut up, Bear Bryant and all these other coaches, Gene Stallings." I'm like, "Yeah, they won national championship at Alabama, but they didn't change the entire legacy of the University of Alabama athletics." And Nick Saban has set a standard of what each program has to be. If you look statistically at all the coaches in different sports that have either been replaced, fired, whatever, since Nick Saban, let's just use basketball. Anthony Grant and Avery Johnson, if they were at other programs, they would have had longer time. But Nick Saban was like, you know, we're winning football. now people want us to win basketball, and you're not doing it. Moving on to the next one. And I think that's kind of been something Nick Saban set in stone at Alabama, and I'm super grateful for that. Gymnastics, baseball. Baseball's a great example. It took them a while to get the coach they have because they weren't executing. They weren't winning. And Alabama's a winning university. So I want to say that, but also
winning at the gambling house.
Do what?
The baseball coach was winning at the gambling house.
Yeah, that's right. But I think too, and you know what, Chris, just shut up. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Y'all have had more head coaches than we've had national championships since Nick Saban's arrival in Tuscaloosa. Okay, and that says a lot because y'all can't win no matter what coach y'all get. They can't beat. Okay, and if y'all happen to beat us, congratulations. That's like your biggest victory of the year. You can't even, y'all haven't even ever gone to the playoffs. And y'all can shut up too, Bruce Pearl, because now y'all don't even have the Final Four to hold over our head because we're there and you're not, and y'all lost to Yale. So you can go shut up and go back to your pastures and your cow.
I know.
Yeah, go back and just, the only thing y'all have going for you is the equestrian team. Okay? The only thing good in Auburn is the equestrian team. And that's all fine and dandy. But anyway.
I need to get some sound effects when we start going off like that.
I literally feel the heat. I need to pray and apologize for how I'm feeling about this.
You got to repent.
It's not godly, but it's okay. But anyway, to go back to Ty's question real quick, and I'll shut up. I think that haters are going to say it's like Les Miles. Haters are going to say, hey, they only won because of who they brought in. But how many coaches have had good teams when they came in and still didn't win? So you have to look at that. It's not just the talent on the field. It's the coaches too. So I think Kalen DeBoer, and I'll say this, there's not a single Auburn fan with an ounce of common sense and a little bit of a brain that would say he hasn't done a dang good job getting the recruits he has, right? Yeah. He has had to recruit his own players. He's had to get recommitted from the current commits. He's worked his rear end off to get where he's at, and to get this squad that we are. And Auburn fans are just mad that Ryan Williams came back to Alabama. And that's because of Kalen DeBoer.
Y'all couldn't even get him to take a free trip to Auburn. All he had to do was just show up, and he didn't even want to do that. That speaks volumes.
There ain't enough Lunchables in Auburn to keep them there.
It's just raggedy. It's so raggedy, and it's really shameful. It's disgraceful. It's how are y'all even in the state of Alabama? Alabama, University of Alabama, we have a legacy of winning. You ain't even welcome. Come on, but it is what it is. People are gonna hate anyway. So that's our rant for tonight. I didn't really take it that far because I didn't feel like it was worth all that. I mean, at the end of the day, clearly he's a fan. He's here every Wednesday night. So, but I definitely want to mention that we have another show airing right after this, maybe about an hour. It's 8:15 Central Standard Time, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. Teague's Take is hosted by JT and George Teague. They like to break stuff down and really get into the nitty gritty, and I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say about the Final Four and then what they're looking forward to in terms of A-Day. So y'all be sure to check them out. 8:15 Central Standard Time, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Bama Standard Network. So you have time to kind of get your dinner and get your snacks, and be sure to follow us on all social media. Now, speaking of social media, do y'all have any social medias that you want to share, or any other shows that you want to promote? And Dan, I'll start with you if your connection is okay. It looks like you're freezing up. I think you're good.
Okay. I was just standing still,
For the first time.
Yes, you can see me every Tuesday night right here on the very same channel, the Final Whistle. We're getting there. Every Wednesday night right here, y'all. This is the spot to be on Wednesday night, hump day. Then you catch me on Twitter or X, whatever you call it now, at the Final Whistle Dan. And y'all make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe button.
All right. And then what about you, Hannah? Any social media or any other shows?
I want to say next Wednesday is my birthday, so I'm going to be spending it with all y'all.
Every season.
Awesome. That's the perfect timing too, leading up to A-Day.
And hopefully Alabama gives me a national championship basketball for my birthday.
That'll be my birthday too, April the 15th.
Yeah. That'll be awesome.
So anyway, yeah, you can follow me on social media at the UA Sign Girl, and you can also find me on Facebook. You can find me my personal Hannah Stevens or Hannah Stevens UA Sign Girl on Facebook as well. But yeah, like I say every week, I love hanging out with y'all. I love being a part of the show, and you know, I love how different we are, but how like-minded we are, right? And I think that's what's so beautiful about sports is, you know, Alabama sports has brought us together in a way that probably we would have met otherwise, right? I mean, it's just incredible how that works. And I'll say this about the Alabama fan base. Hands down, the best fan base ever. Because you can go all over the world, and there's only one fan base you'll see wearing their gear, Alabama. And it doesn't matter if we're winning national championships.
That's true.
The Mike Shula era, we're wearing our Roll Tide gear. And you know what? Roll Tide is like the international smile. You say Roll Tide, it can mean anything. But people know, oh, they're Alabama fans. So I love Alabama.
Yeah. No, they know what it is. When I've traveled internationally and I'll have on my Alabama stuff, you know, you'll see people with their little, the little Miami stuff, whatever. People literally, they're like Roll Tide. And they could be a fan of a different school, but my thing is like, you know what it is. Like at the end of the day, real recognize real. You know what it is, you know. But I do like what you said about just having like the different perspectives because, you know, sometimes one of us may say a certain thing and then we kind of, you think of something else and you kind of piggyback off of that and then it leads into a greater discussion or a wider discussion. So I like that. I like that we didn't spend too much time on NIL tonight either, because y'all know I like to talk about that. I really hope that we see some changes there. But one thing to note is that I believe the transfer portal is reopening on the 16th of April, I believe, because I think that's technically when Caden Proctor can, you know, officially transfer. So it'll be interesting to see, because that'll be right after A-Day. It'll be interesting to see what other names pop up, you know, when we think about any other potential transfers and how that's going to impact, you know, the new guys coming in 2025 and, you know, 2026 eventually. So we'll see what happens there. And let's say, I just saw your comment, Hannah. I was thinking about like that Purdue and NC State game as well, you know, like, because it's going to come down to us playing one or the two. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. Chris is saying, I
hope we face NC State because, man, we'll run the Skittles out of Facebook.
I think so too. I think honestly, I think the matchups are exactly what they should be as far as who playing who. Chris Williams, we told Ryan Williams we full down here, go on the other side of it. Look, y'all couldn't get Ryan. Ryan Williams is that guy. Like y'all weren't even worth the visit. I mean, it was a free trip. And he didn't even want to do that. Like y'all ain't full. Y'all need all the help that you can get. Like y'all were lucky to even be a part of Ryan's conversation. You know, didn't Auburn just have a good guy like decommit recently?
You know, the biggest thing that Auburn did, I'm going to be honest, the biggest screw up was letting Cadillac Williams go. I'm just letting you know now that Auburn screwed up. And I'm happy for Cadillac Williams. He's a great guy, but you lost a guy who was going to be the cohesion and the glue to your program. Yeah. And good luck going 7-6 this year, buddy. They
did the same thing with Damian Craig. You know, they let that guy go to other programs and have success.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they just take L's. That's all they know. More L's than Lululemon. I mean, it just is what it is. And shout out to Ty. This show makes my Wednesdays better. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone in the live chat. Like I said, be sure to subscribe, but also be sure to like the video. Come back and watch the replay and drop some comments. You know, if you have any questions or anything in particular that you'd like us to discuss, just drop it in the comments and we'll try to add it to our long list of topics. But we definitely appreciate the support. I see Chris still has nothing better to do on a Thursday. Maybe you can find somebody's church to join. I mean, there are, you know, different Bible studies and, you know, just stuff that you can do.
Let us know where you're at.
So look, so he's that committed. So you're driving, but you're writing in our live chat. Like what?
That's illegal. That's typical Auburn fan illegal action.
I mean,
go if you freeze his trips.
Tell us where you're at. I'll get a state trooper to head your way.
I know.
That's all right. Wow. You're gonna cause a wreck, dadgum, Chris. Get off.
That's a different level of commitment, though. That's a different level. Yeah. He's talking about everybody on Alabama roster.
It's okay.
Is he driving a tractor?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not dangerous on the tractor. So
that might be what it is because he's riding so fast. Surely he's not using voice to text.
He's riding a tricycle. He just learned. He hasn't got the training wheels off yet.
From the looks of it, he probably won't be able to. All right. Well, and then my social, you can find me on Instagram at beauty_of_intelligence. This fool reckon. Yeah, exactly. Like he's so committed to our show that you shouldn't even told us that because now we're gonna really take you. Yeah, we're gonna take it there next week. So make sure you tune in. He's more committed than me. That's what I'm saying. Like, I literally tell people who do not like Alabama, I'm like, it seems like y'all watch our games more than, like, you could tell me a little bit more than I know, you know? So I'm like, why are y'all so committed to it? You know,
Alabama moves the needle.
We are the needle. We are the needle. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us tonight. Y'all be sure to be safe. Just be safe. I know it's a lot going on in the world. So just be safe, be smart. You know, I like to tell people stay prayed up and stay strapped up. It is what it is. That's my motto. So
driving in the car.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Linda said he riding a horse. He not driving. All right. Well,
y'all make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe. We're 44 subs away from 10,000. That's big.
That's awesome.
Tell your friends about it.
Y'all gotta get to 10K before next Wednesday.
But the real question is, Chris, are you subscribed? Because we know you here every Wednesday night, but are you? Be sure to subscribe. I mean, you're already a fan, right? So
he got the notifications on. As soon as we go live, he's like, "Oh, it's time! It's time!"
I know. He go warm up his dinner. He playing our song in the background. Probably over there singing it too.
Roll Tide, Chris.
I guess if you're an Auburn fan, they have no shows because there's nothing to talk about.
It's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I guess they
can talk about Bama.
They're just lonely.
Yeah, they are. Well, it is what it is. Hopefully, don't get into an accident, Chris, on that tractor. I know you probably driving 5 miles per hour, probably chewing on some grass, doing something weird.
He probably, what that guy named? Proud Mule. He probably riding Proud Mule.
That is hilarious. That's hilarious. He's a little quiet now, so he probably had to put on his little seatbelt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all have a great evening. We just kind of
sitting on a booster seat too.
You know the little booster seat they got at McDonald's, a little raggedy one, little dirty one.
Like, I can see now.
I know. That is hilarious. So he's quiet, y'all. So hopefully, maybe he'll join Teague's Take and get drug on that show too. All right. Well, y'all have a great evening. Roll Tide, roll Tide this weekend. I hope and pray that we win. I hope we win I hope we win it all. We just need to win it all across all sports.
We're going to. We're winning.
We need to. Yeah, we have to.
We have to. Claim it.
Yeah.
We win. I'm going streaking.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, y'all have a great evening, and we will see you next Wednesday. Roll Tide, roll.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.